सुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुं श्रीकृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता अथ द्वादशोऽध्यायः। Bhakti Yoga. Pranams from Dr. R.J. Kalpana. Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. In this session, we will study chapter 12, Slokas 1 to 20. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satatayuktaye Bhaktastvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktan Teshanke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna said, the devotees who with their minds constantly fixed on you as shown above adore you as possessed of form and attributes, and those who adore as the supreme reality only the indestructible unmanifest Brahma, who is truth, knowledge and bliss solidified. Of these two types of worshippers, who are the best knowers of yoga? The opening shloka 1 here, Arjuna questions Krishna as saying that there are those devotees who worship the manifested divinity, Archakamurti, in the form of idols in the temples. They adore you as possessed of form and attributes. And then there are those other type of devotees who only relate to you as the unmanifested reality, as the indestructible Brahma, Sat Chit Ananda. So of these two types of devotees, one who approach you from the manifested divinity perspective, and the other who approach you as the unmanifest reality. Of these two types of devotees, who is considered to be the best, Krishna? Shloka 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Veshya Mano Yema Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Te Me Yuktatama Mataha. Shri Bhagavan said, I consider them to be the best yogis, who endowed with supreme faith and ever united through meditation with me, worship me with the mind centered on me. And Krishna here in Shloka 2 answering Arjuna's question says that it is those devotees who have that supreme faith, that deep Shraddha, Shraddhaya Parayopetas, who has Shraddha, that supreme faith, and Nitya Yukta, ever united through meditation, constant remembrance, worship me with their mind centered on me, who cultivates absolute dependence on the divine, ever united with the divine, that I consider them to be the best of yogis, Krishna says. Shloka 3 and 4. Ye tvaksharamanirdesyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintyancha kutastha machalan dhruvam sanniyam yendriyagramam sarvatra samabuddhayaha te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutahite rataha. Those, however, who fully controlling all their senses and even-minded towards all and devoted to the welfare of all beings, constantly adore as their very self the unthinkable, omnipresent, indestructible, indefinable, eternal, immovable, unmanifest, and changeless Brahma, they too come to me. So in Shlokas 3 and 4, Krishna refers to those yogis who have mastered their senses with disciplinary practices and complete control over their senses. They have a mind that is balanced, in equanimity, in equipoise, and who spend their life in service and welfare of the others, and who are constantly aware of the divine presence within themselves. Antaryamin, as that eternal, immovable, omnipresent, divine that is there within their own selves. They too come towards the divine. Shloka 5. Kleshodikatarastesham avyakta saktachetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkhan dehavat bhiravapyate. Of course, the strain is greater for those who have their mind attached to the unmanifest, for oneness with the unmanifest is attained with difficulty by those who are centered in the body. So in Shloka 5, Krishna states the crux of the problem, that it is far easier for the mind to focus on an object of worship than it is to focus on the unmanifested abstract concept of divinity. For some people, the strain is great because their minds and their intellect is not up to par with the understanding of a concept such as the omniscient divine presence. And therefore Krishna says that those who are centered in the body, meaning those who are bound by their senses, who are a slave to their own senses, who are a slave to the needs of the body, for them, merger with the unmanifest absolute Brahman is difficult. So here in these 5 shlokas, Krishna gives us the difference between Nirguna and Saguna Brahman. The two aspects of the divine, the unmanifested reality from which the manifested divinity comes and from which Prakriti and the entire creation comes into being. So Krishna declares that God realization through the worship of the attributeless and formless Brahma is difficult to attain for those who are dependent and are a slave to the pleasures of the body. Shloka 6. Ye tu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananye naiva yogena mandhyayanta upasate. On the other hand, those who depending exclusively on me and surrendering all actions to me worship me, God with attributes, constantly meditating on me with single-minded devotion. So here in this Shloka 6, Krishna shows the methodology by which merger with the divine is attainable. And what are the qualifications? Depend exclusively on Krishna, surrender all actions to Krishna, worship Krishna and meditate on Krishna with single-minded devotion. So basically it's constant remembrance of the divine. Every act of the human body, our breathing, our sitting, our standing, our walking, our eating, every time, every moment of the day and the night, to be constantly aware of the presence of the divine. Infuse every act that is generated by us with that divine thought, so that divine vibration carries through and reaches the hearts of everybody around us. Shloka 7. Teshamaham samuddartha mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. These, Arjuna, I speedily deliver from the ocean of birth and death, their mind being fixed on me. So that yogi and that person who follows the instructions given in Shloka 6, the instructions of depend exclusively on Krishna, Surrender all actions to Krishna, worship Krishna, and meditate on Krishna with single-minded devotion. Such people I speedily deliver from this ocean of birth and death. Krishna liberates their souls, so no longer does reincarnation and rebirth and transmigration of the souls take place. Why? Because they live in Krishna consciousness. They spend their lives, they spend every breath that they take in divine consciousness. So in the above verses, Krishna shows that the worship of the divine with attributes, the manifested divinity, is easier to practice than the worship of the absolute, the unmanifested reality. Shloka 8. Mayyeva mana adatsva mayi buddhin niveshaya nivasishyasi mayyeva ata urdhvanna samshayaha. Therefore, fix your mind on me and establish your intellect in me alone. Thereafter you will abide solely in me. There is no doubt about it. Pervading the entire universe, consisting of sentient beings and insentient, the divine is enshrined in the heart of all. His omniscience, omnipotent and omnipresent. And therefore, He alone who is able to firmly establish that connection from the human to the divine and maintain it as a constant throughout their life, will have the highest chances of being liberated from this mortal coil of birth and death, and will have the chance to merge with the divine and to become one with Him. Shloka 9. Ata chittam samadatun na shaknoshi mayi stiram abhyasa yogena tato mamichaptun dhananjaya. If you cannot steadily fix the mind on me, Arjuna, then seek to attain me through the yoga of repeated practice. So Krishna here is answering the question of what if a man fails to fix his mind and intellect on the divine, if his mind wanders all over the place, if his mind wanders to the daily activities, the stresses and strains of relationships, what then? He falters on his constant remembrance of the divine. So what else can he do to maintain this connection with the divine? And Krishna says, then seek to attain me through the yoga of repeated practice. Out of His infinite compassion, the divine understands the different tendencies that people have. Not all are able to be focused and determinate with extraordinary willpower to accomplish their tasks. Different types of spiritual disciplines suit different types of temperaments and different types of tendencies. And therefore, Krishna suggests a different course of discipline for those who find themselves unable to fix their mind and intellect on the God. Abhyasa Yoga, yoga of repeated practice. Abhyas meaning practice, so constantly practice. Whether it is practice of meditation, practice of japam, practice of pranayama, practice of asanas, constant practice. That step by step brings us closer to the divine. Now again the question arises, if a person is unable to follow the yoga of repeated practice, what else can he do? And Shri Krishna answers in Shloka 10, Abhyasepya samarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madartamapi karmani kurvan siddhimavapsyasi. If you are unequal even to the pursuit of such practice, be intent to work for me. You shall attain perfection in the result of my realization, even by performing actions for my sake. So for those people who are unable to fix their mind on God, single-minded devotion is an impossible act to achieve, then the yoga of repeated practice is suggested. And for those people who find themselves unable to perform the yoga of repeated practice, then Krishna suggests, do not despair. Dedicate all actions to me. Perform actions for my sake. Do not attach yourself to your actions. Do not attach yourself to the results of your actions. Dedicate every action to me. That too will lead you on the path towards realization. Realization of the divine within us. And then again the question arises, if one finds oneself unable even to perform action in constant remembrance of the divine, what then? And in Shloka 11, Krishna explains, Atetadapyashaktosi kartum yogamashritah sarvakarma falatyagan tatta kuruyatatmavan. If taking recourse to the yoga of my realization, you are unable even to do this, then subduing your mind and intellect, relinquish the fruit of all actions. So if a person is unable to maintain single-minded devotion on the divine, if the person is unable to maintain the yoga of repeated practice of the divine. If the person is unable to even dedicate their own actions for the sake of the divine through constant remembrance, then relinquish the fruit of all actions. There is a great spiritual secret hidden in this shloka. What does it mean to relinquish the fruit of all actions? We perform an action for a certain result, a desired result. And when we don't get that desired result, there is dejection, there is disappointment, there is disillusion. And when we achieve the desired result, we are joyous, we are proud, we become egotistical. Either way, we fall into the trap of samskaras. Because the key word here is desired results, desire. Our desires are bound to our senses, and as long as we keep activating them, we will never gain freedom from our senses. We will never get liberated from this world of Maya, from the world of senses, from this world of matter, which are controlled by the 5 elements, the earth, the wind, the fire, the air, the ether. To attain liberation is to seek freedom from the control of these 5 elements. And in our terms, it means the 5 senses. And therefore Krishna says, relinquish the fruit of all actions. You have performed your duty. Forget about the results. Whatever happens, let it happen. And whatever happens goes to His credit. The good and the bad, the success and the failure. And therein the secret lies. We do not form new samskaras. We are liberated right there. All we have left is that baggage of old samskaras that we have brought into this world. No longer do we have any new samskaras. So, that person who relinquishes the fruit of all actions, he is completely dependent then on the divine, because he has finally worked out the truth that his right is to work only. His right is to perform his duty only. He doesn't have any rights to the results. And what happens then? There is great skill in action, because we are single-mindedly focused on our action, on what we have to do. So every action of ours is executed to perfection. We are our optimal best at every moment in time, because no longer are we conscious of the results. We have dedicated the results to Him, to the divine Krishna. So we do our best in every moment in time at our optimal potential. Shloka 12. Shreyo hi jnana abhyasat jnanadhyanam vishishyate dhyanat karma phalatyagas tyagachantiranantaram. Knowledge is better than practice. Meditation on God is superior to knowledge, and renunciation of the fruit of actions is even superior to meditation, for peace immediately follows from renunciation. And so here Krishna finally says that knowledge is far better than mere actions. Practice without discernment, practice randomly, not understanding why we are doing what we are doing, why we are worshipping, why we are performing certain yajnas, certain fire rituals, why. We have no knowledge. All we understand is it accomplishes a certain desire of ours. There is no deep attended knowledge of the very act of that fire ritual that we perform. So knowledge, understanding why we are doing certain things, is far better than mindlessly practicing something. Meditation on the divine is far superior to knowledge. So again, knowledge is one thing. Knowledge of the divine within us is one thing. It still remains in the theoretical space. Meditation is practical, is experiential. It is not enough just for us to know, to understand that there is a divine. We need to perceive the divine. We need to experience the divine within ourselves. And therefore, meditation is far superior to knowledge. Renunciation of the fruit of actions is even superior to meditation. When we are able to renounce the fruits of our actions, the results of our actions, it is considered to be far more superior than even to meditation, because at the end of the day, meditation too is just practice. Now, what does it mean, fruit of our actions? The results of our actions. Every action of ours has a certain targeted result, or untargeted result, as the case might be sometimes. The fruits of our actions, irrespective of whether they are ripe and ready to be plucked, or they are rotten and sour and has to be discarded. So whether our actions are accompanied by success or failure, we renounce them, meaning we treat them with equanimity. We accept them for what they are, and we proceed further. And so he says, peace immediately follows from renunciation. Equipoise, balanced equanimity, sthita prajna is a condition that follows renunciation. Shloka 13 and 14. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaras samadukha sukakshami. He who is free from malice towards all beings, friendly and compassionate, rid of I and mine, balanced in joy and sorrow, forgiving by nature, ever contented and mentally united with me. Nay, who has subdued his mind, senses, and body, has a firm resolve, and has surrendered his mind and reason to me. That devotee of mine is dear to me. So here, Krishna reveals to us what are the qualifications. How do we quantify a good, a true devotee of Krishna? So how do we know if we are on the right path in our own devotional practices? So what are the requirements? Free from malice towards all beings. No hatred. We do not carry hate in our hearts. We are friendly and compassionate. No longer does our conversations begin with I and mine. Our focus is not on the I, the ego, or mine, attachments to relationships, to possessions, but is balanced in joy and sorrow. We remain the same, whether we receive pain or we receive pleasure. We forgive others. We forgive others to release ourselves from the burden of carrying that pain of betrayal, carrying that pain, that sorrow of losing someone dear, carrying that pain of anger and disappointment and disillusion that the others might have caused us. Forgiveness, it's not so much for others as it is a gift for ourselves. We are content with what we have, and we do not seek for more, and we are ever united with the divine. Everything and everyone around us, we consider them as divine. Who has subdued the mind, who no longer is slaves to his thoughts, but who has subdued their mind and surrendered the mind to the divine through constant remembrance. No longer does the mind be a factory of thoughts. Now all it has is one thought, the thought of the divine within. Subdued the senses and the body. Self-discipline and self-control is paramount on this path. And that person, Krishna says, is dear to me. Shloka 15. Yasmano dvijate loko, lokano dvijate chayaha, harsha marsha bhayo dvegair, mukto yas sachame priyaha. He who is not a source of annoyance to his fellow creatures, and who in his turn does not feel vexed with fellow creatures, and who is free from delight and envy, perturbation and fear, is dear to me. So in this shloka, Krishna is basically saying that it is that person who doesn't create heaviness and pain in the hearts of others. Just thinking of that devotee brings a great deal of joy to everyone around them. So he says they should not be a source of annoyance. People should look forward and enjoy their presence. Their very thought should bring great joy to their hearts. And that person who is free from envy and fear is dear to me, who is not yoked or bound to temptations and fear. So that person is dear to me. 16. Anapekshas shuchir daksha udasino gatavyataha sarvaramba parityagi yo mad bhaktas same priyaha. He who wants nothing, who is both internally and externally pure, is clever and impartial, and has risen above all distractions, and who renounces the feeling of doership in all undertakings, that devotee of mine is dear to me. So it is that person, Krishna says, who has no requirements, no expectations, who demands nothing, who is both internally free of expectations and externally in complete control of his senses, internally and externally pure, is clever and impartial, meaning he has the knowledge of the divine presence within, who is able to rise above all temptations, and who has that ability to generously release all samskaras, good or bad, all results of the actions, dedicate all samskaras, all actions to the divine. That devotee of mine is dear to me. 17. Yo na hyeshyati na dveshti na shochati na kankshati shubha shubha parityagi bhakti manya same priyaha. He who neither rejoices nor hates, nor grieves nor desires, and who renounces both good and evil actions, and is full of devotion, is dear to me. So it is that devotee who neither rejoices nor hates, who doesn't swing like a pendulum from one emotion to another. Joy, sorrow, pain, pleasure, love, hate, a constant yo-yoing of emotions, and who renounces all his samskaras to me, that devotee is dear to me. Shloka 18. Samashatro cha mitre cha tata manapamanayoho shitoshana sukha dukkeshu samashanka vivarjitaha. He who is alike to friend and foe, as well as to honor and ignominy, who remains balanced in heat and cold, pleasure and pain, and other contrary experiences, and is free from attachment. Meaning, who is behavior is the same towards both a friend and an enemy, who remains balanced in pleasure and pain, and every contrary experience that this world of illusion throws at us at every step of our way, and who is free from all attachments, who is not defined by their attachments, who stands well above them, and yet does their duty. That person is dear to Krishna. Shloka 19. Tulyanandastutirmani santushto yena kenachit aniketastaramatir bhaktiman me priyo naraha. He who takes praise and reproach alike and is given to contemplation and contented with any means of subsistence whatsoever, entertaining no sense of ownership and attachment in respect of his dwelling place and full of devotion to me, that man of stable mind is dear to me. Sthir mathir, that is the key word in this shloka. Sthir mathir, stable mind, who doesn't entertain identification with the ego, and who neither delights in praise and flattery, nor does he lament at criticisms and reproaches, who entertains the same feeling towards both and realizes the presence of the divine everywhere. Whose constant mind is in deep meditation and deep contemplation of the divine continuously. That man is dear to Krishna. So here Krishna describes the perfect devotee who becomes dear to him if they are able to fulfill the spirit of self-surrender, who are able to maintain a stable mind, renounce all actions, have supreme faith, in the divine, in Krishna consciousness. And in Shloka 20, Ye tu dharmyamritamidam yatoktam paryupasate shraddhadhana matparama bhaktaste tiva me priyaha. Those devotees, however, who partake in a disinterested way of this nectar of pious wisdom set forth above, endowed with faith and solely devoted to me, they are extremely dear to me. So here Krishna says that this nectar of pious wisdom, this deep spiritual secret of Bhakti Yoga that Krishna has so generously, so compassionately shared with us, in a way opening the door for us to reach him that much more sooner. If that devotee has these attributes, is able to cultivate the qualities, that devotee will become eternally merged with the divine. To put their faith in the divine, depend on the divine, offer with supreme reverence their mind, body, and soul to the divine. Remain constantly engaged in constant remembrance of the divine, and unceasingly endeavor to mold their life according to the highest principles of Dharma. Such devotees are exceptionally dear to him. Om Tatsadita Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Sup Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayan Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Nama Dvadashodhyayaha. Om Yogesham Satchidanandam Vasudevam Vrajapriyam Dharma Samstapakam Veeram Krishno Vande Jagat Gurum. Shri Krishno Vande Jagat Gurum. Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu.